Happy 2026 and welcome to the Hunter's Quilt Mart Heirloom Bloom Block of the Month. I'm excited to sew along with you this year. I'm Luanna and we're going to get started on block 1. You can find the directions and the exact measurements on page 9 in your pattern booklet. I've chosen to use the Bluebird's Nest fabric line, so I'm going to label all the fabrics as we go along to make it easier for you to follow. We're going to start by cutting our fabrics. And the first ones that we're going to be cutting, we're going to put 1, 3, and 10 together because we are cutting the same sizes for each one and it'll just make it go a little faster. I'm going to start with fabric 1 and I'm going to take fabric 1 and I'm going to fold it in half so that it will be the same size as 10 and 3. And I'm going to go ahead, I could press this and make it lay flat. I'm just going to trim off that edge and then or that fold right there, and then it will lay flat with all of the others. So this is fabric 1. I'm going to put it on top for labeling purposes later. Alright, so I have fabric 1 here on top, and the first thing we're going to do is straighten up this edge. Alright, our first cuts, you'll find the exact measurements in your pattern booklet, but we're going to make 4 cuts going across and they're all the same width. There's number 1. 2. 3. And number 4. We're going to start with these first 2. I'm going to set these off to the side. And again, we're working with fabrics 1, 3, and 10. All right, we're going to start by straightening up that edge on the left-hand side. So I'm going to put this down. Straightening off those edges. And then we need to make large rectangles with these. So we're going to go on the 1/8 line. So if you have a ruler that has all the little individual lines right there, the little bitty ones, you're going to go 1 past. There's our first ones. So we're going to pull these apart. Into fabric 1. Fabric 3. 1, 3, and 10. And this is going to be A, and this one's going to be C, and this one's going to be I. Then we're going to take our other 2, we have those all lined up, and we're going to straighten the edge again. And for this part, we are cutting some squares. And we're gonna go right here. I'm making sure that I have it lined up on this side. And we need 4 of these, and that will make 8 with fabric 1 because we have it doubled up. So here's our fabric 1. And we have 8 of those, and they are going to be B. And then fabric fabric 3, and these are going to be D. And then our fabric 10, these are going to be J. And that's all we need for those fabrics. And you've got a few scraps left over. Now we're ready to cut fabrics 5 and 7, and they need the exact same cuts as well. So we're going to stack them on top of each other. And the first thing we need to do is straighten up that left-hand edge. And now we're going to make 3 cuts going across, and they're all the same width. There's 1. 2. And 3. And this is just extra. This one we're going to set aside, and we're going to start with these 2. I'm going to go ahead and stack these up because we are making squares. So I'm going to start by squaring up that left side edge again. And we need 4 of these squares, but we've got them all piled up on top of each other. All right, so if I separate these out, here's fabric 5 and fabric 7. The fabric 5 pieces are going to be E, and the fabric 7 squares are going to be G. And now we're going to take this and we're going to make some rectangles. Instead of these being on the 7/8 mark, we're going to put these on the 3/4, which is going to make them very slightly rectangular. And we need 2 from each fabric. And from fabric 5, those are going to be F. And from fabric G, those are going to be H. All right, we are all done with our cutting, and so next we're going to sew it all together. We are starting first in step 1 on page 9. You're going to start with your fabric piece A and your fabric piece J. You're going to take J, you need to flip it over and draw a line on the back side corner to corner. When you place this on there, that diagonal line needs to start at the top right corner and come down across. And then we're going to take this to the sewing machine and we're going to sew on the diagonal line. To make it line up correctly as you flip it back, you might want to go 1 thread width on this side of the line. That gives you a little bit extra to flip over. So we're going to take it to the sewing machine. Over here, I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to start not by the corner, but I'm going to start on this side over here. That keeps this corner from accidentally going down inside the machine. Sometimes it likes to do that. So I'm lining it up right there. Again, I'm 1 thread length. I'm lining it up here. Sewing across. And then we're going to bring it over here. I need to press it to set the seam. And I'm going to turn this part back. And I do this before I trim to make sure that I have everything lined up exactly the way that I want it to be. So I line it up with this corner over here, make sure it's nice and straight, and then press that down. And everything's lined up really well. So then I'm going to trim that off. I'm going to open it back up, take my ruler, put it 1/4 of an inch past my sewn line right there, and then I'm going to trim it off. And this little piece right here is going to be some scraps, and then you have this part, and it's all done. So you're going to make 2 of these, and you're going to make that in 4 different combinations. So you're going to make A and J, and G will attach over here. And then you're also going to make I, B, and G, A, D, and you're going to add E, and we're going to do that in our next step. And then you're also going to have a C, and this is still your B, and E. So we're going to be making 4 combinations of this particular piece. So I'm going to take the AJ that I started with, and I'm going to put G on the end. And we're just lining up those edges. And we are going to press these out towards the square and away from our stitch and flip unit. And there it is. And that was our G-A-J. So we're going to make all of those, attach on your side squares, and then we're going to put those together, and you have to make a center row. So this center row for this block is going to be B, H, and J. So H is that rectangle that was cut a little bit different. So you notice when you go to line it up, it should match the exact height of the B that you're aligning with. If you have it turned the wrong way, you'll see that it does not line up correctly. So make sure you have it turned the right way, and we're going to sew together B and H. So we're going to take that and we're going to press it to the center square, and then we're going to bring it back over, line it back up, and now we're going to put J and attach it to the center square. And again, we're pressing to the center. And there it is. And now we have all the pieces to make this first part right here. We are going to make 2 squares like this. Oh, sorry, gotta flip that over. There we go. So we want to make sure that we have fabric 7 making the diagonal here, and that these are grouped together and these are grouped together. So I'm going to start by flipping over this top piece, and those seams right there will nest perfectly. So line up your edge out to the side and nest those seams. Then I'm lining it up right here. I can feel that the diagonal line right here is matching up with the seam underneath. And then we're going to take this unit and we are pressing towards the 3 center squares. So there's our first part, and then the bottom row goes on as well. Again, we're nesting this seam right here. Up those corners. And when we bring it back over, we're going to press, and we're pressing to those 3 center blocks, so they're going to go on the top, and then we just flip them back. And there's our little block. You are going to make 2 of these, and I've already made the other one, so I have both of those done. And now I'm going to make them using our other fabrics. So this one, our center piece for this one is B, F, and D, just like that. And you're going to sew those together. And then you're going to take our other units that we had already finished, and then this piece goes like this. And again, we want that diagonal row coming across, just like that. I'm going to start by putting on the top, nesting those seams right there, lining up the corner. Lining those up. Feeling it right there to make sure that diagonal line crosses there. And again, we are pressing this one to the center 3 squares. Roll it back. Put that back down, making sure that those 3 line up in a diagonal again. Flipping this one up, lining up the corner here, nesting the seams right there. Pressing toward the 3 center squares. And there it is. You're going to make 2 of this one. So now we have all of the pieces assembled and we're ready to put the whole block together. So we're starting with this one up in the corner, and you want to make sure that your background fabric, that fabric A or the fabric 1, is going to the outside. Your other one will mirror it this way so that you have the lighter fabric on the outside and you have the darker going inside. Then you're going to do the same with your other squares, making sure that background fabric number 1 is to the outside and the darker one goes towards the inside. And so then we have just a large 4-patch to put together. So this one will go here and this one will go here. And I'm going to sew those chain stitching. The corners right here, those diagonal corners will nest right there. And then I'm going to line these up, make sure that I have these seams right here nesting. Hold that down as I go by. And then we're ready for the next one. Matching the corners, nesting the seams. The diagonal seams from your stitch and flip corners are going to nest right down here. We're lining everything up. I'm going to hold those corners together as we go down. You can leave this together if you want to. If I'd made those a little bit closer, it'd be like a little pin right there. I'm going to separate mine out. And I'm pressing towards this block over here. So when it looks like this, this would be this corner. We're pressing to the same one on both of them. And then those are ready to come together. Nest those corners right there. Once I get it started, and make sure that these seams right here are nesting. Center seam as well. Right there, you can feel it slide and fit together. This one again. And then your corners down here. You can feel the seams just kind of line up. That in place. You can use a pen if you would like. And then we're pressing to the bottom. And flip it up. And there it is. We have finished block number 1 of the Heirloom Bloom. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you next month for block number 2.